More and more women are taking leadership roles in spite of society stopping them. As you know, here on the glass ceiling, we take a look at all the ways that women are overcoming the invisible barriers in society that limit them from living their full lives. And one vital part of life is leadership. And that's where we've seen the greatest resistance to women taking their rightful place. For thousands of years, for various reasons, men have monopolized leadership. But now more and more women are finding ways to change that. For the past 3 weeks, we've been talking about women in leadership, right? And it just so happens that this same topic is being talked about down the road at Walter Carrington. I'm talking about the U.S. Consulate. They've been organizing the 2020 U.S. Consulate's General Lagos Documentary Film Festival. We're going to talk about the festival in more detail in a bit. But here's the thing. The opening movie at the festival is a documentary about women in leadership. The film is called The Empowerment Project. It was made by an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, Sarah Moshman. And it's a really, really, really powerful film. I wish it was available to the public to view. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm so thrilled to have Sarah Moshman joining us right now over Skype. Welcome to the Glass Ceiling, Sarah.
Thank you, Sandra.
Now, before Sarah and I talk, of course, I want to play you a little snippet that I heard on that documentary. It started out the documentary, and I really need you to listen to what some of the young women that she spoke with had to say, because I say it all the time on Hard Facts, and you people think I'm just looking for trouble. But hear it from young women on the other side of the world, and decide for yourself if Sandra, knows what she's talking about.
A lot of times, strong, smart, intelligent women are overlooked in the media, and they're not necessarily the ones that are being interviewed and the ones that are talked about. This is the idea that women can be strong and powerful, and they can have a career, they can be successful and independent of any man. I think that's great.
There's a lot of issues currently going on for female kind of not being equal with men, and that people are starting to not take as much notice of that as they used to back in the day, and they think, oh no, we're equal now, it's fine, but really we're not equal yet, and we're not going to ever get to equal unless we continue to push and strive for it.
I want to be taken seriously, and I don't want people to push me aside and not listen to what I have to say. There's been too many times where I've gotten whistled at or someone's made an inappropriate comment towards me, and it's just unwelcome, and I don't do that. I wouldn't ever do that to anyone else. We shouldn't objectify each other. I wouldn't objectify a man. He shouldn't objectify me because I'm a woman.
A lot of women aren't confident in their own abilities, and they're afraid to be strong. Instead of going into a room saying, who's gonna like me? You should ask yourself, who am I gonna like?
A quick snippet from her documentary, The Empowerment Project. First of all, Sarah, congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
What inspired you to make the Empowerment Project?
This started in 2013. I was really frustrated in the United States how women are portrayed in the media, how so often women are objectified in our media. They're over-sexualized or ignored altogether. Where are the female characters? Where are their journeys of strength? Where are the female heroes? And so as an aspiring documentary filmmaker at the time, I just thought, okay, I guess it's up to me to make the media that I wish to see. I'm not going to wait around for someone to decide I'm good enough to make this film, or wait for this perfect opportunity that may never come. And so I decided to make my own film. And so I made this film very independently. No one hired me to make this. I assembled a wonderful crew of female filmmakers, and together we took this road trip across the U.S. We drove from Los Angeles to New York within 1 month. And we interviewed 17 women in total in different industries, from a pilot to an athlete, an astronaut, and a mathematician, all these incredible women that we've never heard of, because we really just never focus on their stories and their triumphs. And so yeah, that's what the film is about.
Did you notice any common thread among all these women? Because, like you said, you spoke with athletes, you spoke with a math genius, you spoke with a life scientist, you spoke with an architect, a producer. Did you notice any common thread among all these women? What common traits did they all have that you think contributed to their success?
Yeah, I think that was the most inspiring part, is that you might not think you have anything in common with a four-star admiral in the Navy, for example. A filmmaker and someone in the Navy probably don't have much in common, but we really do as women, as humans, of course, but as women, and the experiences that we share in any industry, in any workplace, the struggles that we have are
Right.
very similar. Fighting to get into positions of leadership, being taken seriously, being discriminated against or ignored, passed over for promotions, all of that is a universal experience. But the inspiring common thread, I would say, is that all of the women we interviewed, and most women I know, don't let that stop them. And I think that's important, just to accept the unfortunate reality that we often live in, of not being taken seriously, of not having equal representation in leadership, in media, in politics, etc. But making sure that we still fight to pave the way for women that will come after us, the next generation, and making the world a more equal place. That was really inspiring to see, and something it was like an experiment in 1 month of like, oh wow, these women all do have that in common.
All of that in common. So the film is basically a series of interviews with women who are winning and taking up leadership roles in different fields. How did you choose the women that you spotlighted? How did you hear about them?
Yeah, all different ways. It was, we put a big map on the wall of the United States, and we thought, okay, where are we going to drive? It was first like a logistical plan of what is the path we're going to take, what cities in the United States might we find ourselves in, and then what industries do we want to focus on. We knew we wanted to focus on STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, where women are grossly underrepresented in those fields. We also wanted to showcase someone in the film industry, an architect. We started with a couple women that we knew, that we knew would say yes.
Right.
That's the other part, is when you're saying, hi, can you, would you like to be on camera for this movie? Some people are like, well, who are you? What is this? I don't know what's happening. And so we had to, be very enthusiastic and passionate and share our goals. That the film was always meant to be a way to showcase these strong female role models to then empower that next generation of girls and women to see themselves in leadership positions. And I think that really spoke to the women that we contacted. So it was all different ways, just some Googling, some good old fashioned Googling, some picking up the phone. Some of the women took many months to agree, like our 4-star admiral I mentioned. It's not like we can just call her up.
She's a 4-star, admiral. So yeah, I'm sure she's got things she's doing. She's got people to order around.
So we had to do like proposals to the Navy. I remember we were in our minivan, like trying to be really quiet and taking a call from the Navy and saying like, hi, yes, we're real, I promise. So, it was all different ways. And most women were thrilled. It just was a matter of scheduling and logistics and can we make this work? And we talked to everyone as much as we could ahead of time. But the whole journey was planned out. And we had 30 days on the road, and initially we wanted to interview 10 women. Yeah. But we just couldn't help ourselves. There's so many inspiring women all over.
Let me bring you back. Let me bring you back to something you said earlier on. You said you shot this film with an all-women crew. At what point did you make the conscious decision to do it, or was it something that just, organically ended up happening?
No, it was very intentional. As someone who works in the television and film industry, I'm often just surrounded by men on set, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a certain energy that is created when women get together and support each other. And we had such a beautiful, sisterhood and partnership and supportive environment. And by the way, we were sort of living together for a month, so it made the most sense for it to be all women as well. And I really wanted to celebrate the strengths of female filmmakers, of women behind the camera, and really, practice what we preach. If we're going to have all these strong women in front of the camera, we wanted to have them behind the camera as well to prove once and again, what we're capable of. So it was very intentional.
So from the very first frame, this film hits you with a huge statistic. It says that if we continue at the current pace, women won't get equal representation in leadership until 2085. Sarah, they're talking about leadership in government and business and entrepreneurship and non-profits. 2085, Sarah. So talk to me about leadership roles in America. What are the factors that you think are causing this slow progress? Because like I said, I've been having this conversation with Nigerians for the past 3 weeks. And the conversation has gone anywhere from, oh, Sandra, there's no discrimination. Oh, Sandra, there's no marginalization. Oh, Sandra, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Sandra, we can count some powerful women. We know them. So I'm curious if, you have these conversations as well in America. That's number one. And number two, what are the factors you think are causing this slow progress?
Wow, yeah, and that's very interesting that people are sort of making you feel like it's not an issue there. I think in America, I think we all agree that this is an issue. Just some people are willing to fight to change it, and some people want to maintain the status quo. I think there's a variety of factors. Gosh, let's see. It starts from when we're kids, right? The way that we're socialized, the way that girls and women are often encouraged to be small, to be polite, to not take up space, to focus on this like princess complex. Sort of, we are taught that our appearance is the most important part of our value, which is, of course, not true. And boys are more encouraged to take up space and fall down and make mistakes and try things and conquer the world. And when you grow up with those messages, it might not seem that those dots might connect with women in leadership positions, but it absolutely does. So that's sort of part one, is sort of how we're raised. And then we don't have those role models. So the reason why I made the Empowerment Project is because I wanted, for example, a girl in a math class in middle school to see a female mathematician and see that as a potential path. Because studies show that when she gets to middle school and high school, she is discouraged from being good at math. Even if she's great at math, she doesn't want to be good at math because that's not the cool thing, or there aren't a lot of girls in her class that are excelling at math, and that makes her feel like she shouldn't be there.
Right.
So that's an important part, is not having those role models to connect the dots, which is where I really wanted the film to have purpose. Right. And then if we think about when we get to the workplace, so if we make it through all that and we get to the workplace, it's incredibly difficult to climb that, metaphorical ladder for women sometimes because of so many factors. We don't get equal pay, so we're not encouraged. We're not being valued in the same way as our male counterparts when we find out what all the salaries are. In the United States, there's no federal mandated parental leave. Each state is a little bit different. So if you choose to start a family, you might be edged out of the workforce in order to take care of your kid. There's no federal maternity leave. Or paternity leave for that matter, which is just as important. So if you want to become a mother, then you're going to face enormous obstacles to maintain your career. Then, of course, there's the issue of sexual harassment, which is, I made a whole other film about that. Nevertheless. And that presents, of course, its own challenges where women are being, pushed out of the workforce, or if they decide to speak up about what's happening to them, they might be demoted or retaliated against. There's just a plethora of reasons, I think, why we're not seeing women in those equal leadership roles. And it's really devastating because it has long-term impacts economically on women and their families, by the way. How much money women are making over the course of their lifetime. They're not able to pave the way for more women to take up those roles. And it's a combination of factors, and it collectively all needs to change for us really to see and change that statistic so that we're not waiting around until 2085.
My goodness, that's a scary number. I mean, I'll be dead, but still, Now, while I was watching the film, Sarah, I kept having this thought about a tension that women face in the corporate world. So on the one hand, you know that you have to help open doors for other women because of how hard it was for you to get into the all-male room. But on the other hand, it also creates a type of undue pressure, like you are always having to represent and speak for women in a way that a man isn't speaking for all men. Is this extra pressure also making things difficult for women, do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's the idea that men are allowed to express the entire spectrum of their being and ability level through all these different industries. We've got wonderful, incredible men in leadership positions. We've also got mediocre, not so great men in leadership positions, but they're not having to represent their entire gender just by taking up that one spot. Whereas
Right.
women, if there's one seat on a board or there's one female CEO in all the Fortune 500 companies or 4 women, those women are under intense scrutiny and pressure to represent all women. And even in the film industry, what I know most personally is that women directors are so infrequently hired that when a woman director is hired to let's say to direct a television show and it doesn't go well for whatever reason, let's say it doesn't go well, the producing team might then say, we tried hiring a woman, we did that, we checked that box, we're not going to hire another one, as if that woman represents all women and their skills and abilities.
Where does
And
that
that's
come from? Where do you think that comes from, that behavior? Because we had a similar situation here in Lagos where one of the members representing a constituency here in Lagos in the State House of Assembly said some very unflattering things, and that's putting it mildly, about young people who were protesting police brutality. And she wasn't the only one who said very unflattering things. We had 7 other people, men, who said something. But she's the only one who's being recalled by her constituency. They've initiated a move to recall her. And when somebody called into the show to talk about women in leadership 2 weeks ago, she was the one that they chose as an example. See, when we give women chance, see what they go and do there. So where does that come from? Why do you think that happens?
Yeah, I mean, we have a different set of standards for women. It sounds like globally. We have when you're not used to seeing women in that leadership position for a plethora of reasons, and then she edges her way in there, and then she doesn't perform the way that you believe she should based on the stereotypes and ideals you have of how women should act. Then you're gonna judge her differently. As in, even if you have the 7 other men who are different human beings with different backgrounds, different opinions, even if they're all saying the exact same thing, we have been programmed to judge the woman differently with a different set of standards than we have for the men. Maybe we view women should be at home as mothers, or we don't think women should be leaders, or we're just not used to hearing her voice. And that's a really unfortunate part of this, is the unconscious bias that is part of this journey, and that we're going to all have to overcome in order to take women more seriously. And even if that woman wasn't the best in that situation or that job, that doesn't mean every woman should be judged in the same way. And it's really hard that we have so few women reaching this proverbial glass ceiling and busting through it, that she has to be essentially perfect, and whoever decides what perfect means in that scenario. Otherwise, we might not get that opportunity for a woman to fill that space again. So it's an unfortunate different set of standards.
You had a pilot named Sandra, like me, and and she talked about a male CEO telling her his company doesn't hire women, even though she was the most qualified. It reminded me of a conversation I had with a male caller right here, who said to me, I'm not going to get on a plane if I find out that the pilot is a woman. And I'm saying, well, what if you were already in the plane and you get to your destination and that's when you hear the woman's voice? What if you've gotten on the plane and you've strapped in and everything, and then she announces, "Oh, hello, this is your pilot. Are you going to get off the plane?" And then he was like, But we're going to take a quick break and then come back and continue this conversation. If you just joined the show, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. After the break, Sarah is going to talk to us about this pilot who talked about her own experience. Her name is Sandra, like me, and she talked about a male CEO saying to her, "I'm not going to hire a woman, even though you're the most qualified." Stunning, but not really, because you expect to hear a man say something like that in a place like Nigeria, not in a place like in America, right? So, what I want to find out from Sarah after the break is how widespread that kind of overt sexism is in the USA. So, Lagos, stay here. We'll be right back.
This is an infomercial.
Hey guys, it's your Deals Plug, and as usual, I've got the best news in the market, and it's just for you. Now, trust me, I mean, the pandemic has been really stressful. 2020 has not been that year for businesses, and even worse for SMEs. I mean, it's just been really tough. Everybody's trying to struggle to come back. Payment has been an issue. Market strategy has been another issue. But for a while now, in 2020, Google has been doing something really, really fantastic to help SMEs and businesses just basically get back on your feet after the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown and all that very tough stuff that we've all been trying very resiliently, I might add, trying hard to just get through. But now Google is doing something really extra fantastic. I mean, one of the offers that Google basically is providing for small businesses in Nigeria is a free one-pager website based on your business profile on Google. So it's a great first start and a tool to get your business online, because I mean, that's where business is done nowadays. If your business isn't online, then it's really not anywhere else, to be honest. Now you can build a one-pager website and grow your online audience efficiently and effectively without any technical know-how. To find out more, please visit g.co/Grow Africa and get started now. Remember, that website again is g.co/Grow Africa. Make sure you go on, hit Google up. Google are going to hook you up and basically help your business to rise from where it is right now to where it actually could be. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Don't say I didn't do anything for you.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
Uncle Dentist, what are cavities and how does Colgate
665 to
no get any
every time you use your
keke. 'Finish. I don't believe it.
star 805 hash or read.
I beg no vex.
Every week. And we'll begin. Hot facts. And they're out. Visits BetKing. Ground for
someone. No go Mr.
Former agent. angle where you want.
Station for talk.
This is the glass ceiling on Hard Facts.
All right, Lagos, we're back here. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and I have on the show with me today a documentary filmmaker, an Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker, Sarah Moshman. Sarah, thank you so much for staying on the line. Something's giving me feedback. I don't know what it is.
Oh, does it sound okay?
Yeah, that's better. Oh, no, actually, no, I'm still hearing myself. Okay, so she'll get that sorted. But Lagos, we're talking about women in leadership still. More and more women are taking on leadership roles in spite of society stopping them. And before the break, I was talking to Sarah about this pilot called Sandra, like me, that she was talking to in the US for her documentary called The Empowerment Project. And this pilot said to her that, and this was a male CEO said to this pilot, my company doesn't hire women, even though she was the most qualified person to apply for the role. And when I saw that, I was stunned because I expect to hear men say something like that in a place like Nigeria, not in a place like America. And I say I expect men to say something like that in a place like Nigeria because I have heard sentiment like that in Nigeria. I did a show one time and a Nigerian man called into the show and said to me, I will not fly a plane that is being piloted by a woman. And I had to ask, if you were already sat on the plane and then she makes the announcement, are you going to say, oh, hold on, excuse me, hello, air hostess, I have to get down. Are you going to do that? And he didn't have a response for me. Now, how widespread, Sarah, is that type of overt sexism in the US?
Yeah, I think we have a lot more in common than different in Nigeria and the US in terms of how we view women's roles. Not like a statistic in terms of overt or covert sex, but it certainly is everywhere. And when Sandra, the pilot, told us that story, we were all shocked, and yet also at the same time not that surprised. I think because the gentleman you mentioned, a lot that attitude exists here as well. It's like, do we trust women to have the same skill set to be able to, fly under pressure? What if something happens? It's a really unfortunate stereotype and bias that we have against women in all facets, but certainly when a woman is in charge of your safety, there's the tendency to believe that they're somehow less than capable. But it's also, again, if you don't see women in the pilot's seat your entire life, and then all of a sudden a woman is flying the plane, you have this, oh no, is she, there tends to be a bias because you're simply not seeing women in that role. So it's a little bit of a vicious cycle, right? Where we have to get more women in that pilot seat in all industries, figuratively, in order for us to normalize it and recognize that women are more than capable of doing that job as well as any other.
I was touched by what the mathematician had to say because I feel that I am bad at math. So I'm very impressed when I meet women who are rocking at math. My husband says I'm actually good at it, but I feel like I'm bad at it. But I'm the one who saw that interview with the mathematician where she said that until the 6th grade, boys and girls do equally well at math. But after that, girls kind of lose interest or they shy away due to social expectations. And you mentioned that earlier on when we were talking. We see the same thing in computer science from research. We see the same thing in politics even, or maybe even sports. How much do you think these ideas of what girls should and shouldn't like are getting in the way of women succeeding in particular fields later in life?
Yeah, I think that's a huge barrier. At least in the US, it seems girls are encouraged to be perfect at something in order to even feel like they're good. And that's dangerous because in order to be good at something, you need to make mistakes, right? And stand back up and continue on. And if your whole life you're told to not even, it's almost like you feel like you shouldn't even try unless you're going to be perfect at it. That will reflect in a math class when maybe you get the answer wrong, but you're scared to raise your hand and find out why you got the answer wrong and work through it. I think that's really profound in the way that we socialize our girls and boys. We need to encourage girls to make mistakes, to get back up. It's okay to not be good at something on your way to being good at something, to try and to persevere. And it's, if you're good at math, celebrate that. Don't shy away from it just because maybe you're the only girl in the class that is enjoying math and trying and raising your hand. So these socialized norms are really dangerous for what girls ultimately end up thinking they're good at, what they pursue, how they view themselves, excelling in a path. So I hope we get more girls in computer science and math, and there's lots of, in the US, great programs trying to encourage that and combat these statistics, because as we said, in 6th, 7th grade is when the shift really happens, where girls sort of decide, like, I'm not good at math, I'm not gonna do that.
Lagos, if you just joined the show, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. On the glass ceiling, it happens every Wednesday, by the way, the glass ceiling from 4 to 5. And on this segment of Hard Facts, we take a look at all the ways that women are overcoming the invisible barriers in society that limit them from living full lives. And like I said when we started, one of the vital things about life is leadership. One vital part of life is leadership. That's where we've seen the greatest resistance to women taking their rightful place. So, for instance, Sarah, I have a comment on Facebook from somebody who's watching live. Yes, by the way, you can watch Sarah and I live on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3, YouTube as well, where we're streaming live, Nigeria Info FM. And Joseph Jesus, that's his name, he says, God has ordained men to be leaders, so women should not complain. Now, as hilarious as that sentiment is, it's not an uncommon sentiment. It's a sentiment that, especially for me here in Nigeria, that is quite common. I've heard it a number of times. People often lean on scriptures to defend why women should not hold leadership positions or women should not fight for equality. Do you have that same situation in the US?
Certainly, there are perhaps religious groups that conflate their beliefs with gender norms and stereotypes in leadership positions, but perhaps less so. I think it's just a lot more overt sexism that people can subscribe to rather than conflating their religious beliefs. But yeah, it certainly exists here too.
The lawyer you interviewed said many places are a man's world and many places are a woman's world. Sarah, I found that interesting. How do you think we should go about making every space a part of a woman's world? Because I was, yeah, you know, how do we make every part, every space a part of a woman's world?
Change all that?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's everything we're talking about, getting more women at the table, figuratively and literally, you know, women taking up more space, women in leadership positions, but also I think it's about celebrating feminine leadership qualities more. So and that doesn't mean women, you know, men can have feminine leadership qualities as well, just like women can have masculine leadership qualities.
Right.
I think it's celebrating the balance of the feminine and the masculine. And women, in some sense, tend to have more empathetic tendencies, more collaborative tendencies. I think that's what we need to aim for, is celebrating the feminine and the masculine coexisting, rather than subscribing to this idea that only the masculine workplace will work for everyone, because it's not working very well now. So we need a change.
Let's talk about your other movie, Nevertheless. How different is that from the Empowerment Project?
To me, the two films really, in some ways, go together, right? It's this idea, the Empowerment Project is looking at a younger girl, a woman, and saying, hey, you can do and be anything. And here are some role models for you to look up to that maybe you've never heard of before. And Nevertheless is sort of a distant part two, I'd say, in my brain at least, of saying, okay, when you do get to that workplace, if you face sexual harassment, here are the ways in which you can handle it. Here are the reasons why this is happening. So it's sort of to me, Empowerment Project is like this very idealized, very positive, here's the world we all want to exist in. And Nevertheless is a realistic, practical look at what it's like For some women in the workplace in various industries, sexual harassment is happening, sexual assaults happening, hostile work environment, gender discrimination. And how did we get here? And where can we hopefully go from here together?
How long did it take you to make both movies?
The Empowerment Project was about a year and a half, and Nevertheless was like 2.5 years.
I have to say, of course, that Nevertheless blew me away. You know, I mean, the entire Me Too movement blew me away because, again, America isn't Nigeria, right? We've been grappling with sexual assault and sexual harassment here in Nigeria. So to see how pervasive it is still in a country like the US, it really drove home for me that this is a global problem that women face, you know? Everywhere you are, it doesn't matter how progressive the place is, women face the same problems. Do you think Me Too marked a turning point in America?
Absolutely. I think Me Too is not a solution, but it is a way to create awareness that this is happening to women and to men. Globally, but certainly in the United States, in every industry, you can't deny that this is happening anymore. I think perhaps before Me Too, if a woman came forward and said I was sexually harassed, sort of everyone would, scoop that under the rug. Like, that's not happening. It's not as bad. You can't take a joke. Get over it. And I think Me Too really bust through all of that. And now it's sexual harassment and sexual assault are being taken a lot more seriously. And there's a little bit of a cultural shift happening. We certainly have a long way to go, but Me Too was a seminal moment in our history for awareness, at least, that this is a huge problem.
There are people who argue that that this will make things worse for women because men can't feel comfortable anymore having women in this space. You've got people often using Mike Pence, the current vice president, as an example. Oh, you can't have a female secretary. You can't even compliment a woman anymore lest she accuses you of sexual harassment. Also, that women have managed to close more doors for themselves and reduce the seats at the table for themselves. What do you think about that argument?
Yeah, I mean, you hear it a lot. It's unfortunate, but I think with any social movement of this magnitude, it's going to be, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's always a backlash. There's always a resistance to release power and control from the dominant group. Those comments are unfortunate because it really misses the point of the whole movement, which is that these traumatic, painful experiences are happening to women and to men every day. Mm-hmm. And for someone to make light of it and say, well, I can't even ride it, is to leave folks out and are going hands when comfort Oh my gosh, well, I'm about to have a son. So
Yay! Excited. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I want to make many more films. It's obviously been a hard year for everybody with COVID-19, so hoping that next year a lot more films are in production and I can continue to make more movies that showcase strong female role models on screen.
All right. Sarah Moshman, thank you so much for joining us on Hard Facts today.
Thanks for having me, Sandra.
All right.
And thank you to the U.S. Consulate Film Festival.
All right, then. Have a great time. Lagos, let's talk about the conversation I've just had with Sarah. What do you think about the points that she made? What do you think about the thoughts that she shared? What do you think about the questions that I asked her? What do you think about her responses to those questions? Do you feel like there's something about Nigerian society that makes a lot of people choose to ignore the great leadership ability in women and insist that men should be preferred as leaders? 0700-993-993 993 0700-993-993. Don't forget that on the other side of 5 o'clock, you and I will have a conversation about a conversation that started on Twitter about education. Remember, we started it yesterday on the Big Three, and I promised that we will talk about it today between 5 and 6. So get ready to answer that question for me. If your parents could only send one child to school, would it have been you? Why or why not? 0700993993. That conversation is for 5 o'clock, not right now. Right now, we're still talking about women in leadership. Do you think that Nigeria is still making a lot of argument against the Nigerian society now? Do you think that there's still a lot of argument against women leaders, whether in business or in economics or in politics or in entrepreneurship, like everywhere that there can be leaders and those leaders can be women? Do we still have a society that says women are not good leaders, or women will not make good leaders, or women are better as followers? What do you think? 99.3. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name?
Thank you very much. You have Mr. Sam calling you from Eputemeta.
Welcome, Mr. Sam.
Thank you very much. Well, I strongly believe that women should be given opportunity to excel in all areas of their endeavor. And the women should also aspire to a position of control or maybe leadership. But it shouldn't be that they should be given chance to do that. It shouldn't be as a matter of women emancipation. It should be women having their vision, their aspiration, and then by hard work, they attain to that level. Not that men should allow them to take over leadership position. No, it should be by their hard work. It should be by their aspiration. It should be by their willingness to excel in their area of endeavor. That is my own belief.
All right, Sam. Thank you for calling to share your belief with me. 99.3. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Turn your radio off. Turn your radio off. Good evening. What's your name?
I'm Adegoke.
Welcome, Adekoke.
I believe women should be given that privilege.
Your radio is still on, Adekoke.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I could hear you. Your radio was just on. Go ahead.
Okay. I believe they should be given that privilege to rule the nation, because we have so many women that are having the capacity, the intelligence to rule the nation, and then making sure that things are not being done in the way it should in this country. Because the men have failed us. We are talking about corruption everywhere in all sectors. The Ministry of Health sector, financial sector, education sector, and it's affecting us greatly in this country. So you have women of good reports, of integrity. I believe they can do it. We can have a change in this country in every aspect of life and move this nation forward to where it's supposed to be. So thank you very much for enjoying your program.
Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. 99.3. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. What's your name?
My name is Moses, calling you from Aja.
Moses, did you listen to my interview with Sarah?
Yes, I listened very well.
What did you think about her answers?
Which of the answers? I just want to contribute on giving women chance in the society to participate.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I want to see this direction that women have been already given the chance. Like if you go to most of the banks, like UBA particularly, you will see that women are the ones there. Like 90% of women work in UBA banks. You can see that. You can go and do the experiment. Yeah. So, and I think they should be given more chance to. But they should work hard towards it. No, they don't just give it like come and take. You have to work towards it.
Do you think women are saying give it, come and take? Do you think has any woman ever said have you heard any woman ever say give it,
like
let me come and take?
Now in this country, in Lagos particularly, if a guy and a girl, a woman is looking for work and they have the same qualification, don't you think they take the women before the men?
No, actually, that's false. There's data that says
it's true.
No, you don't call me and say it's true. What data, Moses, do you have to support what you're saying? Because I have data. I have data that says if a man and a woman are looking for the same job and they're both equally qualified, they will give it to the man.
They will give it to the women because
They will give it to the man.
Telling you the donated for
Water cavities. How does it protect my teeth?